Hello BookTube, my name is Juan. I am just one reader and I have been away from BookTube for a few weeks now, which feels like an eternity. It really feels very weird not to be making videos and not to be constantly thinking of what video I'm gonna make or how I am going to approach a certain topic or a certain book review or whatever. But the reason why I've been away is I've had a lot of work. I've had many things going on in my life. I had a wedding that I had to go to. I had many things going on. And then I had COVID. I actually still have COVID right now filming this video. But I have to say I'm feeling pretty normal right now. I'm feeling very, very okay. Fortunately, COVID hit me in a very friendly way. I had very mild symptoms, very luckily. Honestly, if I hadn't known it to be COVID, I probably would have dismissed it as just a normal flu or something. It wasn't really that bad, luckily for me. But yeah, I just have been sort of down and away from my usual energetic, slightly manic self of, wanting to make videos and sing and read and, me, being me. But anyway, I wanted to make this video. It's going to be a video discussing some of the books that I've read while being away from BookTube for these past couple of weeks. And I will talk about the books that I'm reading right now and that I will be reading before the year is out. I only have, like 10 days before the year is out, a little over a week before 2022 comes to an end. And so I really want to finish the books that I'm currently reading right now. And then by the end of the year, I really want to make my top books of the year video and also top worst books of the year video, which is going to be a lot of fun. But anyway, the first book that I want to mention that I finished reading a few weeks ago was Letter from New York. This is a nonfiction piece about New York City. It's written by Helene Hanff, and Helene Hanff is an author that many people know for her very popular book 84 Charing Cross Road. But the thing is, many people only read that book by her and they never really explore her backlist. And I think that's such a shame. I'm always encouraging people to read more Helene Hanff because she has a few nonfiction pieces that are real treasures and real gems of that particular style and vibe. Helene Hanff, more than anything else, what I love about her, all of her books, is that she has a certain quality to herself and to her voice. And there's like a vibe that you get when you are reading Helene Hanff. So this, I have to say, this is probably my least favorite of her books that I've read so far. And I think I've read them all now, which is very sad that I've read them all. I have to say this book was probably my least favorite of her works just because it's written in a way, in a structure that is much shorter chapters, like episodical pieces, very fragmented anecdotes of herself living in New York. She just talks about her life in New York and little observations and commentaries on life in New York back in the 80s. It's a delight. It's funny. It's very warm and cozy, and she was such a lovely woman. I am giving this book 4 stars just because it's not quite up there in that sort of special tier of books written by Helene Hanff that I adore. It's just slightly below that, but still, if you haven't read Helene Hanff, now is the time. Then I did my reread of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling. And it was as delightful as ever. It was as delightful as I remembered it being. This book is, I think, the climax for the of the series for me in terms of how magical it feels. This is where Hogwarts feels the most magical and cozy and friendly and warm and sort of quirky. I love the character, especially I love the adult characters in this book, how they are portrayed, and the dialogue. I loved Dumbledore, McGonagall, Sirius, Remus Lupin, Trelawney. I love all of the Snape. I just really love those adult characters and how they interact. I love the banter. I love the dialogue. Oh my god, also, I had forgotten just how funny the Weasley twins are, Fred and George. I love those characters on the page. I think that, the Weasley characters were very misrepresented in the movies. Ron, of course, is not the same Ron as he is in the books. But also the Weasley twins, they are genuinely funny in the books. I just love them. So I really loved this reread. There's really not much else to say. Then I read Tom Felton's memoir, Tom Felton being, of course, the actor who portrayed Draco Malfoy. And this is his memoir. It just came out very, very recently. It's called Beyond the Wand, The Magic and Mayhem of Growing Up a Wizard. This was kind of a mixed bag, honestly. I thought some chapters and some topics were really well written. I thought some other issues were not really that well explored. There's a part in the book that I found very superficial and kind of repetitive and honestly unnecessary, where he just goes and talks about the people who were involved in making the Harry Potter movies, and basically what he says is they were such a nice person, they were so great, and that's pretty much the entire extent of that topic. So there were some things in here that I thought were okay and interesting. I really like how he explored his life post Potter, and he talks about addiction and what it feels like to be famous and the sort of negative impact of that. I really enjoyed that. But then again, there were many things here about the making of the Potter movies that I already knew a lot about. So honestly, I would say maybe you can skip this book. You don't have to read this book, honestly. I think you can go and watch the Harry Potter 20th anniversary special that is available on HBO Max, and I think that's enough, honestly. So I gave this memoir 3 stars. It was just a mixed bag. Then, okay, I started reading a book that I DNF'd, but it's not like a hard DNF. It's more like a soft DNF, and that means that I'm just putting it aside, and then I will try and come back to it later, probably in the new year, and I will just try it again and see if I can pick it up and just click with it more. That was A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher. This is a very cute book. It's very, very quirky. It's very cute. It's very funny in like a cozy, childlike way, which I like. It made me think of Eva Ibbotson. Eva Ibbotson is one of my favorite middle grade authors ever. So it has that kind of feel. The thing is, nothing really made me interested in the story itself. I thought it was cute, but not overly quirky to be funny. I found the story mildly compelling, but not enough to really make me interested in finding out what was going to happen. And the same with the characters. I found them endearing just enough, but also not enough to make me care about what was going to happen to them. So it was weird. It was a weird book. Also, I found this book very long, 300 pages. I think if this book had been shorter, like a novella or a short story even, I would have been much more compelled to continue. But I found it overworked. So I don't know. I put it aside and I will come back to it later. Then I read a book that is going straight into my worst books of the year list. And it's such a disappointment because I really wanted to enjoy more books by this author. He's an author that I really, really like. But I have to say his work is very inconsistent. and I'm talking about Red Country by Joe Abercrombie. I have read the First Law trilogy, which is The Blade itself, the what is it? Before They Are Hanged, and the last Argument of Kings. And I really like that trilogy because it feels very different and very original. I really love the magical lore and the world building and the mystical quality that it had. And also the writing was very, very fresh and funny and upbeat. Then I read one of the standalones in the First Law that was Best Served Cold. And I thought that book was very so-so. Like, it was very... It needed to be shorter, and it needed to be more unique, more original. But it was fine. It was okay. This standalone in the First Law universe, however, was very bad. It was incredibly, unnecessarily long. This book should have been 100 pages, not 400 pages. It was way too long for what it was. The writing, I found it not very good, not really up to Joe Abercrombie's standard. The writing to me felt very confused. It felt very, very fast in the rhythm, but also incredibly boring at the same time. I was never really engaged. I was never really interested in what was going on. I never really got the characters in my mind. Just everything that I loved about the First Law trilogy, the original trilogy, was completely gone from here. First of all, it's a Western, and not that I have anything against Westerns, but or maybe I do. I don't know. I don't know Westerns enough to make that statement. But anyway, this book didn't really feel like fantasy to me. I would not recommend this book. If I could go back in time, I wouldn't have read this book. It was a waste of time, honestly. Nothing really good came out of reading this book. I am giving it 2 stars instead of 1 star, only because some writing chops are there. It can sometimes be funny. Sometimes the writing can be very, very good. He's a great writer. He's a great stylist. I won't deny that. But this particular book, no, it was a wasted opportunity. So those are the books that I have been reading. Now, the books that I'm currently reading right now that will probably take me, from here on till Christmas or New Year's to finish. I am reading a memoir by James Rhodes, and this is called Instrumental, a memoir of madness, medication, and music. This is a great memoir. It's very poignant. It's very in your face, direct. It's not trying to sugarcoat what happened. It's just what it is. It's very honest and heartfelt. And I really appreciate reading this book as a psychoanalyst, as a mental health provider or carer. I really, really like the courage that it. I really appreciate the courage that it took, probably, to write this memoir. James Rhodes is just really opening up and telling you what happened to him. He was sexually abused, and then he, of course, had to deal with all of the repercussions and consequences of that, and that has to do with depression and some mental illness, let's just call it that, and cutting and suicidal ideation and attempt and addiction, and it's very, very, very hard to read about those topics, but he really he just tells it as it is. I really like that. Also, this book is about the power, the healing power of creativity, specifically music, but I think that creativity is something that saves people. And so, this book is very much targeted to people like me. I am a psychoanalyst. I really enjoy reading about these hard topics of mental health and illness. I also really, really like music and reading about the connection that people make internally with music. So this book is very much in that line. And I'm really enjoying it, but it's hard to say that you are enjoying a book like this, which is so hard and so rough. And then finally, the book that I started reading only this morning is Forest Mage by Robin Hobb. This is a long, chunky book, but I'm sure it will be just a delight. This is the second book in the Soldier Son trilogy by Robin Hobb, which is another trilogy completely separate to the realm of the Elderlings. And I have to say, the first book was very good, but there was something in the ending of that book that made me a little lukewarm about picking the next book up immediately. Like, usually when I read the first book in a trilogy, I am completely enthralled and I want to read the second book right away. And with that book, Shaman's Crossing, I really liked it, but I wasn't like, yeah, I need to read the second book right away. I was sort of okay with having read the first book and just waiting it out. And so I waited a few months, and now I picked the second book up, Forest Mage. And let me tell you, wow. I am immediately interested in finding out where the story's going. I had forgotten just how great the magic and the vibe and the character in this particular trilogy are. So I really think this trilogy is going to be something special. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today in this video. I will see you in a few weeks, probably for my best and worst books of the year list video. I am just one reader. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.